let's turn our attention to the experts. Colm Cavanagh and Brendan Devenney are with us. Gentlemen, you're both very welcome. Colm, I might start with you. Tyrone looked pretty good, and the boy McKenna, he is awesome.
No surprise there. No surprise there. I suppose a few weeks back, I got asked about Conor McKenna and how much of an impact he had, and I probably played it down a wee bit. But in the back of my head, knowing that he's played a lot of football behind the scenes over the last few years, I knew that would stand him. But I suppose he's exceeded all expectations to date, and he's made a massive impact there, and he's going to be one to watch now coming this weekend. So
if it was just him, we'd be very excited. But then fate conspires, and suddenly Derek Canavan is available to the senior team as well, and everybody's like, hang on a second, he's also pretty good.
Nearly forgot about Ger Canavan there. I suppose he hasn't played very much football for us. So coming in there at the weekend and doing what he done, sort of had raised a few eyebrows. But look, you know, two real positives for Tyrone going into the weekend. But it's going to be an absolutely completely different fixture from like the way the styles and that played last weekend in comparison to what's going to unfold this weekend is a completely different game, and there'll be a lot less room, I'd say, for McKenna and Dara and stuff to operate. When
we were just getting you guys up on video, myself and Eoin were chatting about how the pendulum has swung between the two counties in recent years, and certainly when Jim McGuinness was there, Donegal had your number, but you've wrestled that back over the last couple of years. What changed in the approach from Mickey and tactically over the last couple of years? How did you deal with this Donegal team? Was it the same game plan essentially for the last couple of years against them?
I think we've tried everything at this stage. During them dark years for Tyrone, as I would say, we did, you know, we tried to mirror Donegal and how, you know, probably in a way and how they were defending, and you know, we tried to bring our own sort of fresh approach to it. Obviously, never really got us over the line. There was a lot of defeats there, but we tweaked and amended our style slightly and tried to be a bit more attacking and tried to implement things to try and break down Donegal over them years. But ultimately, look, them years, Donegal had our number, like say only recent times, and Tyrone has started to shift the balance a wee bit back, and you know, it's probably a combination of style changes, personnel, you know, age coming in, you know, fresh faces and whatnot. Like there's probably a raft of things there, but look, there's never too much between the two teams, and you know, I don't expect there to be too much at the weekend either.
What was your plan during the years, Colm, for dealing with someone like Michael Murphy? Was there a specific plan for dealing with a talisman?
Okay, look, you know, you look at Michael, and you know, you obviously know if we can sort of put the shackles on him to a certain degree, that it goes a long way to winning the game. And look, we've tried. I think for a few of the games that we tried, you know, letting them sort of roam free, and that obviously didn't go our way. And then we obviously tried to deploy different men. Justin McMahon marked them. Patrick Hampsey obviously tried in more recent times to sort of do a bit of a mad marking job on him. But I suppose the problem with Murphy is that he's that versatile, where he can drop into full forward, and he can create he can create havoc in there where you can probably get away. You probably can get away with a wee bit more out the pitch when you're marking him and trying to sort of shackle him, but once he sort of drops inside at times, you know, he's obviously puts that fear factor in you, because you know, he's so good in the air, he's so strong, and obviously now with the forward mark would be a handful.
And would you have somebody in Tyrone training wearing a Donegal jersey pretending to be Michael Murphy as you're setting up your defensive plan against him?
No, I wouldn't be wearing a Donegal jersey now, but yeah, you would sort of look. It's like any team probably, where you would sort of set up that sort of, you know, that sort of style, and the way, you know, you're nearly mirroring what Donegal probably we're going to sort of what we thought Donegal were going to do, and obviously we would sort of deploy a Michael Murphy where we would think he was going to play, and sort of try and give that, and probably in the week or two before the game, you sort of try to, you know, nearly rerun a few scenarios around, you know, how we're going to deal with this, and yeah, look, it works sometimes, and there's, you know, obviously, you know, still, but. The thing is now, obviously with Donegal, they've got Murphy and they've got other boys that do damage, and you always have to have that in the back of your mind that, you know, it's not just one man. You can plan for one man, but there's obviously a lot of other boys at the minute that can do serious damage to us.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that then, Brendan. What's the level of confidence in Donegal that enough players are going to provide a supporting cast for Murphy this weekend, and that the right players are going to come through? Are you feeling confident that Donegal are going to beat Tyrone?
Yeah, listen, they're at home. Ger, what we've seen so far is so hard to get a bit of form, is that you'd expect them to win. But I was saying after Ballybofey there and chat the end of McGinley, that Tyrone will go down, have a good performance against Mayo. They're coming in their tails up. Of course, they had no friendlies going into that Donegal game. Donegal had a couple of friendlies, and they looked very, very rusty and very un-Tyrone-like. So if you're looking for a team that has a bigger bounce going into the game, it's certainly Tyrone. And then, as you mentioned, Peter Hart didn't play. McKenna's flying. You have Dara Canavan in there. Suddenly, there's a lot of plus points probably going on for Tyrone. That Donegal went down and obviously feel a weakened team against Kerry. So very hard to read into that. Their minds were on Tyrone from the minute that match ended in Ballybofey. But I don't think that's any negative for Tyrone now, because they've got that bad game out of the system. So I think the Tyrone training camp will be in good mood this week going into the game.
Is McBrearty going to play? Is he fit?
It's touch and go. It's touch and go. Ger has fitness. That's a huge point for Donegal as well. You know, he's the main man inside, and you speak about different players. You know, Hugh McFadden as well is another one. Langan and McGee both had injuries going through their club championship there. Now they've played bits and pieces of Donegal in the last couple of weeks. So a lot of players were going in with. Owen Bam is another man with an injury concern going on there. So we seem to all those seem to have tidied up except for McBrearty, and obviously he's a vital man.
Owen was asking the question about what Tyrone do about Michael Murphy. What now do the rest of the country have to do about McKenna, who seems to be an athletic marvel and also a skillmeister?
Yeah, awesome talent. How many times have we seen players come back and, you know, they're 17, 18, going to Australia, and the player you think that they've become, when they come back, you think, are they going to be that player? And they very rarely are. You know, interesting, Conor Glass just landed back. I mean, one of the best minors ever seen for Derry. But for McKenna as well, you know, you hear this coming back. And from a Donegal perspective, you always think, he's not going to be that good. He's not going to fit in, right? Well, boy, has he. And obviously with Cathal McShane being out, that was a massive plus going in this. I couldn't understand in Ballybofey Hart not putting him inside and isolating him. That seemed to be the play to make. For Donegal, Steve McMenamin has been our man marker in those situations. Again, no one, I don't think, has the physical power to match McKenna. You know, McMenamin's, you know, done well in the last couple of games against Clifford and Kerry, and that, you know, not as powerfully strong, but certainly as big a man. So I think if McKenna plays out round 11, if he plays out round that half forward area, if he's in that zone more often than not, you know, you're thinking of the likes of Hugh McFadden going in around, having to double team him. If he goes inside, you're going to need Neil McGee's strength in there, along with McMenamin, to handle him, because, as I say, McKenna is an absolutely awesome talent.
Colm, what do you think about that attacking setup for Tyrone and how they should move the parts around? It's almost a shame that Colm McShane isn't going to be available this weekend. Is McKenna stuck there at number 11 in your view, or do you think he can be moved around a little bit as the game progresses at the weekend?
I think they'll move him around. You know, I think having him at 11 definitely is a plus, in that he's big, athletic. He can win kickouts. He's obviously an option for a long kickout, and you know, would be a huge asset for Tyrone in that respect. He's obviously lightning pace. As the game wears on, I suppose the one thing I have from even speaking to Conor himself is that, you know, he's probably, you know, he's got a couple of games under his belt now, but his overall 70 minutes fitness in a full championship match would sort of have a bit of question marks over, in terms of, like, he's at lightning fast pace, and he's coming back from a game where he, you know, acceleration and them short bursts are of vital importance. But, you know, having him at 11 and, you know, expecting him to do the amount of work that I know what Tyrone try and sort of play, the system they try to play, you know, there may be periods of that game where you may have to give him nearly a break and put him inside and have that sort of option. You know, obviously with Cahill not there, you need to sort of, in my eyes anyway, they need to probably put him in at various times to try and offer that sort of outlet ball. You know, someone to go in to kill the ball, get an offensive mark, or you know, obviously good. He's obviously got a good eye for goals. So, but again, you know, against Jermao's even last week, that was probably okay. They could do what they want. There was a lot more space. You know, the biggest, I just know over the years playing against Donegal, you know, there's not going to be very much space in that full forward line. It's a thankless position to play inside. There's so many men back, and you know, it's very, very hard to find room. So having him, I definitely think having him out at 11 is probably a good place to start him. But as the game progresses and maybe opens up a wee bit, you know, having him inside and playing, you know, giving him that sort of option for, he obviously can good under high balls and that. So I do think they need to sort of mix it up because, you know, we have lacked that presence with Cahill not there, having that big man on the edge of the square effectively, you know, to kill ball.
Because that is one of the big questions after watching the weekend's game against Mayo was, can Tyrone do this again in terms of how they approach the game, use a lot more of the direct kick passing? But in reality, the Donegal defence is going to be a very different proposition to the Mayo defence, and you just wonder if McKenna's performance then will be a very different performance.
I would have to say so. Like, you know, people are obviously getting very excited, and rightly so. But like, it's going to, as I said earlier, it's going to be a completely different game. There's not going to be that amount of space opened up for Tyrone players to operate, and you know, we found that over the years, and probably that's why we've probably ran the ball a lot over the last number of years, trying to sort of keep the ball. And you know, when you're playing Donegal and Ulster Championship game, you don't want to lose the ball. It's a killer to lose the ball because someone's on the counter attack, they get a score, and suddenly you're in the back foot. So I definitely don't think there's going to be that much room there. So you know, you will have to move the pieces around and hopefully find the best fit. I think from a Tyrone point of view, we need to get in front early and stay ahead, because you know, in past history, if Donegal get in front of Tyrone, I think at the weekend by 3 or 4 points, you know, it's a long road back. They're very good at managing the game. They're very good at controlling the game at their tempo, and you know, we'd be forced to do something that we probably wouldn't be overly comfortable with.
Colm, last question for you: will Canavan start?
After his performance of the weekend, you know, I'd be tending to say yes, but Mickey may decide just to spring him. You know, when the game opens up. If it was me personally, I probably would spring him off the bench, and you know, whenever the game opens up a wee bit and there's a bit more space for him to operate, because you know, he's got a killer turn, very, very pacey. But them early stages of the game is going to be hard hitting. There's not going to be very much room to operate in. So you know, it's catch-22. If you start him and he doesn't perform the first half, you know, he'd be nearly looking around his shoulder. You know, while he could probably bring in that sort of X factor in the second half, and when space opens up and cause a bit of damage. All
right, Colm, we'll let you go. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Brendan, if you've got another couple of minutes, wouldn't mind asking you about just the general sense of what the evolution in Donegal's play is going to be this year, because it felt like last year was 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, where there was real signs that this team is going to be here for the next couple of years, but then come the Super 8s, they ultimately underperformed, and I think they would have felt like they didn't fulfil their potential last year. So this was supposed to be the year where they build on all that. They've got enough of that young crop of players who are coming through with just enough experience. So where are they? What's the truth about where Donegal are at the moment?
It's a deep one. I think what they're doing, you just mentioned Derek Canavan from at the end there, and I think from a tone perspective, if you're going to let Derek Canavan shine, you have to let him be a forward, not be a defender first. And that's the issue with Tyrone all over. They're not allowing their players that bit of freedom, and it's almost like there's a bit of a cloud hanging over a lot of their forwards. They're in and out, there's players coming and going. And when you mention Donegal, then you're thinking of the likes of Oisin Gallen coming in, Jamie Brennan, Pater Morgan, Niall O'Donnell. You could see them the last day did a bit of zip date, and if anything Boner's brought to Donegal as he's brought that bit of zip and a wee bit of flair, a wee bit of invention. It looks like the players are enjoying the football. And if you're not enjoying the football, how are you going to do it? Particularly from a forwards perspective, if you want to be in the right area of the pitch to finish the ball. So I think Donegal maybe haven't been unearthing the defenders that we would have hoped. And I think that's going back to what's happening in the club football here. Ger, blanket defence is ruining so much of our club football here in Donegal. It's stopping defenders be defenders. And what's happening then is that we're not producing the new Neil McGee's, the new Carl Lacey's of this world now. Very different now, county and club blanket defence. You see the scoring in the last few weeks. I mean, 217 to 213, Donegal Tyrone in the league, even though both teams went complete blanket defence. You know, last week, as you see, huge scores again, even down in Mayo, with teams dropping in deep. It doesn't seem to matter, whereas club, it is hurting the club player evolving. So we're not seeing that many new players coming through for Donegal defensively. That is with a few issues there. And that's why when teams are protecting, they're dropping back their half forwards, they're dropping back their midfielders. That's probably where Donegal's question marks lie in their defence. Once they get the ball out of defence, they have so much power and pace, they can hurt anybody. And I think that's what Declan going to be looking to tighten up his defence. Once Donegal get it, they have so much break and invention when they get up the pitch in, and so many dangerous players.
That's interesting that you mentioned that about Donegal club football, Brendan. Are you concerned about where Donegal football in general is going over the next couple of years?
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually bringing out I'm doing a bit of a report on it. You know, this year I've had a real good look at club football. And I really think that clubs need to take back ownership of tactics. You know, the club chairman, when he's hiring the manager, has to, you know, get a blueprint of where the club's going. Not only from the seniors, but from the bottom up to say, right, we're an attack first team. You know, this is GA. We're not a defensive organisation. And that's not to say not be stupid with tactics. But sure, you put on your sweepers, you defend leads when you have to, but you have to be attack first. You have to promote that style of football because that is the game we play in. Now, it's happening so many teams, and the bigger teams in Donegal are doing it. They're going defence first, and then the other team has to mirror it. You just hear Colm on about it there, trying to mirror Donegal. They did mirror Donegal finally in 2016 in that brutal Ulster final, which really was a disaster of a game, and Tyrone managed to eke it out. It was horrible stuff, but that's what's happening in club football in Donegal. So I think there has to be a real reformation in terms of Donegal chairman or club chairman need to say to their managers, right, what's your blueprint? How do you play your football? And we're an attack first club, and we review it at the end of the year, and everybody has to be on board with that. And as I say, not be stupid tactically, but certainly not drop, as we've seen in Donegal club football, the 15 behind the ball. Because what happens is then no one steps up to be the man, no one be the main player in the team, because everybody can just have a colleague 5 yards away for a handy hand pass. No one has to man mark a better forward because he's got 2 or 3 around him and all the space is clogged up. So I think now, as I say, we're having that effect. It's filtering through to our county team particularly in terms of defenders coming through.
And do you think Bonner and Rochford are going about it the right way at county level? It's just because of what you mentioned there, they're not getting the resources through from the clubs to actually implement their style of play?
Yeah, I think they're both doing a brilliant job. I think the difference, as you say, with the scoring, you take a county player, any one of them now inside the 45 or some of them even outside it, but if they get that half a yard from any area, but bang, the ball can go over the bar. The difference, as you think about it, most club teams, even the better teams, might have 1 county player, maybe 2. So particularly if you know the opposition, then if they get the ball, 3 or 4 go to them, they can leave another man free, and he's not such a danger. He needs to get into a real tight area before he can score. So that's what's happening. There's so much tactics going on that's kind of ruining a lot of football. I mean, it's ruining it as a spectacle, but it's also stopping players to say evolve and get better. And it's a real problem here in Donegal, and it's coming from some of the bigger teams as well. And I think it really needs to be addressed because, as I say, we're not seeing these defenders coming through that we should at the rate. You know, we're seeing sprinkling of forwards coming through. I think that'll always happen. But defensively, it is an issue for Donegal that these like replacements for our top players. I mean, you're seeing year on year Neil McGee and Paddy McGrath, players that have to keep going inside because you're just not seeing those stickers coming in. I mean, I know young Conor Morrison had a cruciate injury again. He would have been one that was coming through, but they're few and far between.
Are you going to win?
Yes. Let's hope so. It'll be a short wonder for us Donegal boys. I think it was come back in 2001 when the backdoor system came in. Of course, Galway won all Ireland through the back door. It's been a long time. Ger, I suppose Tyrone had their own championship knockout this year. They went knockout in club, so it was a real thrilling championship. But then again, big teams are going to fall, and I suppose only really in Connacht and Ulster, you could say sides are going to go out like championship contenders early. So outside of that there, yeah, but certainly Tyrone and Donegal, it's a tough one, Ger, because you've seen how many times teams start poorly, have a poor first championship game, but their season completely turn around.
Yeah.
We've seen it many times, but you're not going to have this option the weekend coming. So one of the big guns is going out. Let's hope it's not us.
Brendan, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Bye-bye.